Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, I am a huge Joe Flacco fan. Wise Usher once said, "Situations will arise in our lives." I'm talking about shut down. Like you're not throwing on Jimmy Smith. Joe is criminally underrated, lock him up in cuffs, criminally underrated. Lamar's put this team as a top 5 offense for the first time in 20 years. Got the arm talent. Jay Cutler had it too. I don't care about this argument against total TDs and all this. Oh, you want to talk about defense? Oh, until next time. It's the best time of the year. Oh, it ain't Christmas, though. Look, it might as well be. It's Christmas in the NFL season, okay? It is Christmas in the NFL season. It's the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, the Ravens and the Texans. Let's just think about it. 2 teams that played in week 1, and on this day, they get a chance to. The other gets the end the other season, right? That ain't the most eloquent way to say it, but the other gets the end the other season, right? Like that, like if the NFL playoffs just ain't like a storybook waiting to happen, then that's exactly what this is, right? And I tell you what, man, I'm excited. I'm glad to be live with y'all. You know what, Hendo? Shout out to Rogue Pod. You know what, Hendo? I am, man, okay? I am, right? I am. I feel like more people gonna see me sing than they're probably gonna watch this video, but it don't matter, okay? Whatever you gotta do, by hook or by crook, you get this win, because the last time that the Ravens were in the playoffs, it was against the Buffalo Bills. It was it was I keep saying that wrong. I forget about the game last year against the Cincinnati Bengals because I try to repress that memory. But anyway, look, man, look. I'm excited. I've been excited all week. It's funny. I don't know why I've been so excited. But I think it's fun. Number one, to have Lamar Jackson back in the playoffs. It's fun to see just the Ravens back healthy in the playoffs. The Ravens haven't been healthy in like 2 years, right? And since they played Buffalo, and that game felt like it ended in injury for a couple people. So it was like it's felt like it's been a while since we got to see. I hate to say the real Ravens, but the true healthy Ravens out there. But anywho, look, man, I'm excited because I'm excited. I think Ravens flock is excited, right? Like it's funny because as I look through, looking through Twitter, like just seeing what people are talking about, seeing kind of the pulse of Ravens flock and everything, man. It feels different, but it feels like everybody's locked in, right? It's funny. I was on another show of mine, another show that I do for work, and we were talking about this game, right? And I kind of said the same thing that Hybrid said. He said, "I'm expecting a blowout." I kind of said the same thing, right? I'm like, number one, this game is a statement game for the Ravens, right? The Ravens have been overlooked for 5 years now in the playoffs, if we're just going to be honest about it, right? The Ravens have been overlooked for 5 years in the playoffs. And I guess you could say the 4 of those times that they've been kind of the underdog. And it's funny because he asked me, like, I kind of posed the question. The Ravens want to be the underdog, right? They want to be the team that's overlooked. They want to be the team that you say can't do it. But how are you the underdog when you're the number 1 seed? How are you the underdog when you are literally, you look like the best team in the league, and you look like the best team in the league, probably maybe even consistently all year, right? You've looked like the same team, right? You've grown and you've matured, but for the most part, you've looked the part throughout the whole season. I think especially for Ravens flock, we felt like they can take it up a notch. There's that next level they can get to. And I'm gonna say this once again, but I don't feel like they've technically necessarily gotten to it yet, right? Like, we still, even the last couple games. Like think about Miami, right? Miami, you looking good, but you fumble, and that gives them a chance to get back into the game. So I mean, that goes into the keys of the game anyway. But it's funny because he asked me, how can you be the underdog if you're not the underdog? Like you're genuinely not. There's no reason for you to be the underdog in this game. Rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, right? A team that's surging, yes, but obviously going up against a team that has been there, done that in the past, right? They have playoff experience, because the thing about that people forget sometimes too is playoff losses is still playoff experience. So they have the playoff experience too. And I said to him, I said, the Ravens are still underdogs in this game, right? They still have bulletin board material to put on the bulletin board to say, hey, we are still underdogs in this game. Not because we're not better than the Texans, not because we can't beat the Texans, but because of the narratives running around the Ravens in this game, right? There's plenty of narratives, right? Shout out to, it's funny, I was watching Hendo's video, shout out to Rogue Pod once again, but I was watching his video and he said, you got to kind of be a narrative killer in this game, right? And there's narratives all over the place, right? Most of the narratives for the regular season have been shut down, right? When it comes to Lamar Jackson throwing the ball, Lamar Jackson is an MVP, he's not quarterbacky enough, all that stuff has been shut down. But now is the true time to prove it, right? And kind of like Hybrid said, going back to my other guy that's up in here, kind of like Hybrid said, I'm expecting a blowout. And I almost feel like you kind of need it if you're a Raven, if you're Ravens fans, right? If you're Ravens fans, if you are the Ravens, to get yourself back to where you want to be, to get yourself back momentum-wise where you want to be, you kind of need a big win today. And when I say a blowout, I don't even necessarily mean 20 points or anything like that. 2 possessions is fair enough, right? 2 possessions gives you a comfortable enough win to where you can take some momentum into the next round, right? And it's funny because I've been looking throughout Ravens Twitter probably pretty much all week, right? Just seeing what everybody else is up to. I'll bring Ravens Twitter in just so you guys can just take a look at kind of the pulse of Ravens Twitter right now, the pulse of Ravens flock right now. And it's interesting. I don't want that one. I want this one. All right. So it's interesting because, when you just look down, I just scroll down as I talk, but it's just interesting to see how everybody's feeling, right? How everybody is feeling. Everybody is feeling just, they're on the edge of their seat. They're ready, right? And it's funny, man, like going into this game with the Texans, right? A young team, a team that's really got nothing to play for, but they don't have anything to lose today, right? That's the dangerous part about them, is they don't have anything to lose. The Ravens are the team that is like, win a Super Bowl now, right? Because you've pushed all your chips to the middle of the table, right? They're all there, right? You grabbed Odell, you drafted Zay Flowers in the first round, you got the talent around Lamar Jackson and all that, right? So now it's time to make this thing go. It's time to make that, it's time to make this, stamp this win. You got to stamp it, right? You got to stamp it, man. And I think for me, I think everybody's locked in, man. I do. I think everybody from Lamar Jackson to the guy who's gonna clean up after the game that worked in the Ravens building is locked in. Everybody's locked in. Ravens flock is locked in. Like, it's funny because I feel like if you could transfer energy, it would be crazy, right? But it's just crazy. I feel like whatever you do in your day to day, I feel like you locked in so much. You feel like you're doing it for the Ravens today, right? If you podcasting today, you're doing it for the Ravens. If you in a space today, you're doing it for the Ravens. You editing a video, you the Ravens video editor for the day, right? Because you're just trying to put all that energy into a Ravens win today. And I think it's crazy, man, because when you think about it, yeah. And Hybrid, you brought up a real good point, and I'm gonna pull your point up. Howard said, I don't know if people realize this, but we have blown out every good team we played this season. And that's true. And the thing about the Ravens is the Ravens don't really get blown out either, right? It was a struggle that it was a struggle that we talked about early on in the season. I think it was after a loss. It was probably the loss to maybe the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I think it was a loss to the Colts when we felt like it's not even necessarily that the Ravens are getting beat by these other teams or they're just not as good. They're just playing down the competition, which they've done time and time again. But then when they flipped the switch later on in the season, it felt like, hey, this could be a whole different team. It's like if the Ravens would get out of their own way, they could move forward, but they couldn't get out of their own way. And going back to this point, yeah, I mean, the Ravens have blown out every good team this season, right? Like in turn, especially late in the season, especially when you need to be hot, when you need to be that team, the Ravens have blown out every good team uh, because the Ravens are. I think the Ravens offense just poses a threat that people just don't see. It's hard to defend. Once you get Lamar Jackson hemmed in, well, psych, I'm not, right? I'm out of the sack, right? And then the Ravens have done a good job, especially as this offense has developed. The Ravens have done a great job of being the team, like making those adjustments, right? The Ravens have done a great, which in the past has been an issue, right? In the past has been this ain't it, like in the past it's been it, the Ravens haven't been able to do it. The Ravens just haven't been able to put the pieces together, and this team is so much different than 2019, right? Which brings me to my next point. Like the Ravens, like a lot of people are like, nervous, right? Shout out to Sarah Ellison. I don't think she was in that thread of tweets, but she had said, why am I the only one that felt like I slept like a baby last night? Everybody else is excited, everybody else is anxious, everybody else is concerned, everybody else is like, well, is this 2019? And trust me, we've heard that time and time again. And, to a certain degree, I think it's a little disrespectful to this team and how good they are and how talented they are and how battle tested they are. I think with this team, the difference between this team and 2019 is they've been there and done that, right? Kind of like I said before, kind of my first point I said was losses matter, right? Losses matter in the playoffs too, because as long as you can learn from them, right? As long as you can learn from them, losses matter in the playoffs too. And I feel like the Ravens have learned from those things. And that's why, going back to Howard's point once again, this needs to be a big win, right? This needs to be, for lack of a better term, a blowout win, right? And if it isn't, whatever, they, play well. I mean, if the Texans just come out firing and they just play well, that's different. But you're gonna kind of have to force them to not play well. You gotta force them to not to not play well. And it's funny because you know I also had mentioned like how locked in everybody was, how locked in Lamar Jackson is, right? Like how locked in this team is. And it was an interesting comparison that I made over on that show because I just feel like this team just feels different. It feels different. It feels like everybody is ready for what this team can be. Everybody is ready for what this team, how good this team can be. And I think everybody is gearing up for a run. Let me play that real quick just so y'all can hear it, and we'll see what you guys. So I'm hoping y'all can hear this. Might have to share the screen first. This whole season, instant gratification, right? We want it now. And
Do you think he's ready?
do I think he's ready? Absolutely. Yeah. I think I don't know if I've ever seen maybe besides Tom Brady, a guy who hates winning as much as Lamar Jackson does.
Right.
Like hates losing. A guy who hates winning, he'll show his frustration, but he'll still stay locked in.
Right.
Like I don't know if I've seen a guy as locked in like that. Like that shows it, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes there's been plenty of guys who have been locked in. Patrick Mahomes doesn't show his frustration,
Right.
right? Like even Peyton Manning didn't show his frustration,
Mhm.
but I think Lamar does. But I think Lamar does in like, hey, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
we're better
The
than
right
this. Let's
way.
go. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
all right. So obviously, not a typo, but a wordo. What do you call it? Look, I hates losing as much as right. But I mean, I think there is um that level of I need this win. Like, we've we've talked about it, heard about it all week about him keeping his individual accolades in a box because he wants a Super Bowl more than he wants those individual accolades, right? Like he wants a Super Bowl MVP. He might put that one on the mantle, right? But before he can present those other ones out, he wants to say, hey, this is right. This is what I truly wanted. And I feel like he's dialed in. I feel like, he said it on draft night, they're gonna get a Super Bowl out of me, believe that, right? Like he said that, like still gives me goosebumps to hear him say that to this day, just because of the success he's had so far. But it's just one of those things where it's like, this guy wants it. He wants it so bad. He hasn't really been able to win titles in his previous places, right? With Louisville and all that, right? I think it's been since what? I think he said Pop Warner was the last time he won one. But it's like he still wants it, right? He still wants it, and he has a fair shake at getting a Super Bowl, right? With the Ravens, and in the situation that he's in and the maturation of this offense. But I feel like too with Lamar, it just seems like this offense is just coming together. Like, and the defense doesn't even really need to be talked about. The defense is way different than 2019. Also, this is a defense that's not, the thing about the Texans is they're big play. They're big play central. Like, we've seen it, but this defense is going to slow you down. It's going to make sure that it slows you down. They are, and that's the thing that I feel like I've seen, especially against those good teams, going back to those good teams, right? The Niners, the Dolphins, those teams. With those teams, they're fast break offenses, right? They want to score. They want to score, and they want to score now, right? They're not nickel and dime you type offenses. They're not 10, 15, 5 type offenses. They're like 20, 30, 70-yard touchdown type offenses, speed, all that. So the Ravens have done a great job in showing, hey, we are that, you know what I mean? We are that defense. That defense is going to slow these high-powered offenses down, and I think they're going to make it tough for C.J. Stroud and what he does, because C.J. Stroud, as good as he is, and the one thing about C.J. Stroud is he don't turn the ball over. That's another thing I think this defense is going to have to force the issue on, right? They're going to have to force the issue on C.J. Stroud turning the ball over, and not to say it's easy by any means, but you're going to have to force the issue on him turning the ball over because he doesn't, right? You got to force the issue on him turning the ball over because he doesn't. Let's take a look at the injury report real quick, specifically the guys who are questionable and out, right? So Mark Andrews, I think he's still on IR, so I don't see him playing. I think that's almost guaranteed that he's not playing. Devin Duvernay, I think they did say he was back. Marlon Humphrey is out. Because with Marlowe, I don't know what's up with Marlowe, right? It feels like he's been off for a good little bit of time. I thought he would be able to be back, but he's just I don't know what's up with Marlowe, but hopefully the extra rest will be good. Brandon Stevens has played lights out. Probably a guy I need to apologize to myself, but Brandon Stevens has played pretty well and well enough to kind of help out Marlowe a little bit. So that's good. Deshaun Phillips, I don't know if he's playing. I think Ardarius Washington is. I know he was at least brought back up, so he'll probably end up playing. Tyler Wallace will probably end up playing. I know another one, not injured, but just a new addition, Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook will be back in this game as well. So, and I think that's a guy, when you talk about X factors, when you talk about guys who don't have to make big plays, but like if you get a big play from him, it's going to be everything and more. Like it just adds to the pieces of the puzzle. Of course, I mean, you expect greatness from Lamar Jackson. You expect greatness from Zay Flowers, but he's a rookie on top of that too. But you expect greatness from them. But I think Dalvin Cook, I think he could be an offensive X factor, because with Dalvin Cook, he kind of gives you that different wrinkle that kind of we was hoping for from like a Keaton Mitchell before he got hurt, and we got from Keaton Mitchell before he got hurt. So the hope is with Dalvin Cook, just get a couple of big plays, get your legs back under you, and I think with Dalvin Cook, the last time he was playing meaningful football, he was 1,000-yard running back. So, I mean, I think behind this style of offensive line and this style of play, Dalvin Cook could be back today. Dalvin Cook don't even need a couple weeks. Dalvin Cook could be back today. So I think on the offensive end is Dalvin Cook. On the defensive end is Kyle Hamilton. Because Kyle Hamilton, the thing about Kyle Hamilton is Kyle Hamilton kind of takes away what you want to do best sometimes, right? Or he takes away at least, he can take away that Dalton Schultz, right? He can take away at least your security blanket. He can take away a lot of things that you do well, and shout out to him for being a guy who can do that, right? Shout out to him for being a guy who can be exactly what you need when you need it. I think, and I talked about it before early in the season too. I felt like the Ravens were leaning into more what they wanted to do, especially defensively, right? And maybe I'll answer that question offensively as I get on out of here. But defensively, the Ravens have always been a team. They're gonna put you out of position. They're gonna, make you play these hybrid positions and stuff like that. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, why don't you just draft guys who can play different positions? It's not always advantageous, right? Because can you truly master that skill, right? If you got to play back safety, then box safety, then line up on a tight end, But I think if you get guys who excel at being at different places, even not Chuck Clark. I don't know why am I thinking of Chuck Clark. What's my guy's name? Geno Stone, right? Even Geno Stone, he's kind of been bounced around at different positions. Brandon Stevens been bounced around at different positions, right? So you got a little bit of versatility, even if you need to use them in different ways, even the ways that Mike McDonald blitzes different people. He'll blitz Marlowe, he'll blitz Brandon Stevens, right? He'll blitz Kyle Hamilton, right? And use length and speed and all that stuff to make an impact defensively. So I think offensively, the reason why the Ravens have matured offensively is I think not that they necessarily found their identity, but they have a couple of different ones, right? If you want to stuff everybody in the box, we got the receivers to beat you now, right? Which is the biggest difference between 2019 and this team right now is the receivers are just more talented. And, this is the same receivers that helped Lamar Jackson lead the league in passing touchdowns, and I get that. But, you got a little bit of everything. You got a guy who's been there and done that in Odell, right? Who still is an impact player. It's not, that's not disrespectful to him. He's still an impact player. But also you got guys who can give him a break when he needs it, right? You got Bateman, who plays essentially the same role, right? Just a younger version. And then on top of that, you have the tight ends with likely Kolar. And can I shout out to Greg Roman real quick? Could I do that? Can I shout out to Greg Roman for wanting all those tight ends? Because now we need them with the Mark Andrews injury. So that's a good thing. I think it's been helpful to have extra tight ends, even though last year we felt like we was like, why the heck we got 4 tight ends? But that's been, it's been a nice change that the tight ends have been, the tight end depth has been worth it. But I expect to see some big things from the Ravens today. I expect the offense to find their way. I expect the offense offensively, keys to the game for the offense, play a clean game. I don't think the Ravens, I don't know when the last time the Ravens didn't turn the ball over and lost a game. And I hope I said that right, but I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think, if the Ravens play clean football, the Ravens are so efficient that if they play clean football, winning games is not hard for the Ravens if they play clean football on offense, right? I think you got to expect big play, some sort of big plays from here, here and there, right? You got to expect some big plays from Lamar, of course, but you got to expect some big plays from like Zay, maybe get him in space and let him do his thing, right? Let Zay be who Zay is, let him be special. But then on the other end, defensively, you're going to have to force CJ to turn the ball over at least once, right? CJ don't turn the ball over, and that's the thing. CJ has been one of the cleanest quarterbacks in this league, over the past season, right? He takes chances, but he's calculated when he takes those chances. It ain't just like I'm taking this chance to take this chance. This dude wide open, right? And shout out to Bobby Slowick for, calling the plays and making it easier for CJ too, working with him to make it easier for him too, in terms of scheme and stuff too. But for me, my biggest thing is defensively, you got to force a turnover. by hook or by crook. It don't matter how you do it. It don't matter if it's a fumble. It don't matter, and that's the thing. Like I say, for CJ to turn the ball over, but that's just because you want to make him uncomfortable enough to turn the ball over. But also, like, fumbles are good too. This could be an O-way game. Shout out to Yolanda B. This could be an O-way game, right? This could be a O-way game where he comes out and he just makes the right play. I think taking some of that pressure off of Oweh has been big for him because he can just kind of just make a play. Sometimes that's just who he is, right? At least right now, he's like, he's that splash player, right? And another thing is too, even without the turnovers, get some sacks, like get after CJ, take him to the ground. Because the thing about it is, man, it's going to be cold out there. It's probably going to be a little slick too. But the thing about it is you're going to have to just make CJ uncomfortable. And the best way to make CJ uncomfortable is to have him hit the ground a couple times. And by a couple times, I mean a lot, because that ground is going to be cold. That ground is going to be hard. And this is a dome team. This is a dome team, and that ground is going to be cold and hard, and getting up off of it time and time again with this smash mouth defense is not going to be fun. So, make this game not fun for CJ. Can I put it that way? But I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this game goes. It should be a lot of fun. The Texans are a talented team, a talented young team. A lot of people are drawing parallels to the Colts. You remember the Colts in Andrew Luck's rookie year when the Ravens played them, and that was a Super Bowl year, right, back in 2013. Like, that was another one where it was like, man, like, you got a young hotshot rookie coming into Baltimore, playing lights out, setting rookie records, doing his thing, and the defense showed up. And that's what the defense got to do. Got to do against the Texans today. Offensively, once again, play clean game. Just play clean. Play clean. No turnovers. Do what you got to do. But we're going to wrap it up. Definitely hope you guys enjoy. Remember that Fly Nation Speaks is on all major podcasting platforms. I appreciate you guys for coming by once again. Let me shout out to Rogue Pop for coming by. I appreciate you. And also Hybrid as well. I appreciate you for coming by and just hanging out with me, if I can say it. Hanging out with me on the live stream as we get ready for this game, this Ravens Texans preview. I think the Ravens. I'm not good at picking scores, so I'm not gonna pick one. But I think the Ravens will win this game big. And if I say big, I mean 10 plus. I don't mean huge per se. But let me know if you got a score prediction. Let me know. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. This has been Fly Nation Speaks. Until